when I'm around left wingers, like when I'm around like woke people, I
Yeah,
feel
you're pretty anti-woke.
I feel pretty on edge, like, because I feel like I'm being judged, I'm saying the wrong thing and that kind of thing. And
I'm gonna arrange a debate between you and FD Signifier. Does that work?
is FD is FD he's like, I didn't watch your conversation with him, I'm sorry to say, Paul, but
The one person who I hope watches all my videos.
I'm trying to watch as many as I can.
No, I know. I'm just kidding. That's fine. The
but
fact that you watch any is an honor, to be honest.
I don't know. Well, thank you.
JJ.
But was FD, in your course of your conversation, was he ever like bothered or offended by anything you said?
Yeah, but not fundamentally, because if he was really bothered by it, I don't think we would have had the conversation.
But did he like ever? No, I mean like what you said during the course of the conversation. Like, did he ever say like, Paul, don't say that, or Paul, that's bad? And
I did make one or two jokes that I cut out after the fact, but not any substantial point, like not like a position I had.
Because the thing is, I find that in conversations with sort of left wing, kind of like, I don't know, commentators, influencers, streamers, whatever, right? Because these people are just like very into debate. If there is a disagreement or if they're bothered by something, they engage with it in a hyper sort of intellectualized way. And then, you sort of talk through it, and maybe they argue against you and they humiliate you sort of in that sort of way. But I feel like a lot of, in the real world, when you deal with people that are sort of, quote unquote woke, oftentimes they're just bothered by things that you say, and they're just like offended, and they're just mad at you. And then like, that's the end of the engagement, right? Like it's a moment of tension, a moment of sort of, of pain, a moment of sort of, a moment of like interpersonal conflict as opposed to intellectual discourse, right? And I feel like that, so like maybe just because the fact that I'm sort of in this space and I can talk about anything, and, I can sort of hold myself up as a sort of calm and moderate person, other people might not perceive me quite that way when I'm just living my day-to-day life, right? And so people are bothered by me. And, I've definitely been around people that are like very left-wing and very woke. And I feel like you have to be on eggshells because you're going to constantly say the wrong thing that's going to offend them in some way. And then they'll hate you for the rest of your life, right? And then relationships will fall apart. I've been in that situation before, right? Where I've lost friends because, people have been bothered by some tiny thing I've said or done or how I've acted, right?
Oh, yeah. I had, one of the key points I'm always trying to hammer home is no one is just a disembodied voice talking about politics on the internet, right? We are people who carry with us all of our background, all of our relationships, and all of our personal experiences, and that colors everything we talk about. And for me, with like the whole Israel-Palestine issue, I have family that went down the anti-Semitic rabbit hole, and so that's partly why I believe it's such an important issue. There's other reasons as well that I could talk about later in a different video, but with like the woke stuff, it's like I had a group of friends, the hipsters, who I would call them, who some of them just turned into fucking like just, it was during Black Lives Matter. It was when the riots were going super hard, and at a certain point, a black cop named David Dorn had gotten shot by a rioter. And I posted something on Facebook like, everyone has the right to peacefully protest, but if this is where the riots go, it's going too far. And I got these comments of just like these super backhanded, like, no one asked for your distant commentary. It's out of touch. And it was just like, say it to my fucking face, you tool. And I literally messaged one of these people and was like, hey, let's talk about it. And he was like, I can't, I'm busy for the next couple. I was like, oh, I see. So you literally, it isn't about discussion. It's about, I'm right, I'm going to browbeat you into believing it with backhanded catty remarks and all this shit. Yeah. And, well, it's part of the reason I started my fucking YouTube channel. I was like, I'm not going to sit here and hide behind a keyboard. I'm going to put my face on video and sound like an idiot, very clearly, instead of trying to hide behind Facebook comments. But it's because of that experience with those progressives that I'm very much like, I'm very sensitive to, like woke left-wing extremism in terms of the pathological personalities that involves. Yes. It usually involves people who are very intelligent and who manipulate other people who are less intelligent. Like, for example, well, abolish the police doesn't really mean abolish the police, despite the fact that those fucking bills were passed, or, and the police police departments were cut, not just like funding moved around, police funding cut, like in Minneapolis. So, there's people who say that, but then if you say, well, law and order, well, that means white supremacy. That's a racist. So I see. So abolish the police doesn't really mean abolish the police. Law and order doesn't really mean law and order. It's just, and it's however well you can rationalize it. And that disgusts me. And part of the reason I'm so, I believe a defense of intuition and vibes-based analysis.
Oh, he muted himself. Whoops. There you go. Hold on, you're still muted. Paul, we cannot hear you. Did you unplug your microphone or something?
How about now?
Oh, were you doing a bit, Paul?
No, I was not.
Oh,
I hit the.
That would be a good bit.
It would be. I do good bits.
Yeah. No, but I mean, like, but the point is, like, and I think this goes back to what you were saying about, like, normies and the Israeli-Palestine thing, right? Is like there are so many sort of trip lines in today's society. If you're somebody who is not super fully literate in politics, in political culture, either on the right or the left, right? And so I do think, like, a lot of people, their inclination is to just check out and to just like not talk about a lot of subjects, because it just seems like a path to having people hate you and judge you, just for very minor things, just for tiny slip ups and stuff like that. And that's just like, I don't know, it's a tough way to live. It's like, it's an intimidating sort of culture to inhabit.
Yeah.
When there's a lot of important things that ordinary people feel frightened to discuss. And I don't even mean like talking about them in like some super edgy, like right-wing sort of way, the way that like your typical right-winger speaks when he says you can't talk about anything anymore. Like, I'm not talking about like the Bill Maher kind of like perspective. I'm just talking about
or
like,
Dave Chappelle, right?
Yeah,
famous right-winger
famous
Dave Chappelle.
Right-winger Dave Chappelle. I'm just talking about like your average guy on the street who might want to be a little bit engaged or might want to share his like very like casual opinions on things, but then is just very intimidated by the smarter set who are much more judgmental and much more sensitive to people that are is insensitive as they perceive it. And then so as a result, like there's just becomes big issues where people just do not want to engage, do not want to learn, do not want to talk about, because it just seems like this horrible minefield. And I do think the Israeli-Palestine thing is sort of up there with, some of the racial justice things, some of the LGBT things, a whole bunch of